Hello and welcome to Journeys and Journals. I'm on a trip back in history. Every week it's a history trip. I am Bernie Martin Beck and my guest today is
Delbert Lewis.
From the far off country of Northern Oregon.
Well, the wilds of Willamina, Oregon.
Way out in the country. Welcome to Grants Pass, and thank you for bringing your history along with you. I want to talk about who are the Lewis brothers. Now, you have two big brothers. One of them's pictured.
Okay, you're referring to my brothers, not
Yes.
the ones that progenitors of my clan.
Right.
Okay, you are holding a picture of my brother Mervyn
Okay.
with our school teacher from our 8th grade, which is Bill Redford.
And you have another brother by the name of?
Charles, and he's passed away.
Yeah, he came to one of our school reunions right here with Rita Daly.
Oh, yes.
And Chuck had just found out he had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Inoperable cancer?
Totally inoperable. It was in every organ of the abdomen and the up into the stomach and esophagus. When it was found, it was everywhere.
Now, if you had found that news, what are the chances you'd go to the school reunion from grade school?
I probably would have hid my head and poured mead, but not my brother. No, Chuck, life had to carry on to the absolute best possible as long as it was there.
We had found out that he'd learned that week that he had inoperable cancer, and that here he is, a school teacher who has just really lived a good life for way too short.
Yeah, cut short.
Now, Merv, where's he? Oh, here's old Chuck. Chuck and one of the hall boys, the hall boy.
Okay, yeah.
Is that?
Chuck is the one on my side.
Yep, that's the big brother. You know, there's more to your family besides just the three boys. You've got cousins.
Well, there was a large Lewis clan that grew up here in the Grants Pass, Medford area. Uncle Walt had a large clan of his own. There was, let's see, Gordon and Leonard and Nelda and Viata in that clan. And then there was my Uncle Floyd. He had just three, kind of.
Now, Floyd has another name.
Floyd Byron. He went by Byron during our grade school years.
And I've got a picture of your Uncle Floyd and his daughter, Carolyn Lewis. He was one of those men that drove the cattle across the bridge.
That's correct.
And that's the way, the bridge being the 99, the road.
Highway 99, the Caveman Bridge that has the notorious arches, or famous arches. I don't matter how you want to look at that, depending on your side of politics. But that bridge has had a lot of Lewis history.
Now, I watched him smile, so I think he's going to tell us about taking a bike up over the top.
No, that was my brother.
Over the arch. And did they also?
Pushing the bike up the first part, and when it started to level out, getting on the bike and getting his picture taken as he rode over the top.
Which brother was this?
That was Mervyn.
Oh, I should have guessed. Now, where's Merv?
Mervyn is in Hermiston, Oregon. As we speak, he's on a deer hunting trip. I tried to get him to come down and reminisce with us, but
Maybe
Somehow elk hunting and deer hunting kind of stole the day.
In what part of the country?
He's Hermiston, and that's north central.
But he's way up in the hills.
And he's in the John Day area, out of Pendleton, John Day.
Well, looking through some of these old pictures, we spotted there's the teacher of choice that was there when your brothers, Mr. Stewart.
Oh, yes. Mr. Stewart was the one that everybody is from first grade up through the 5th grade, 6th grade, would look forward to getting into the 7th grade so you could be in Mr. Stewart's classroom.
Look at the guy.
And if Mr. Stewart didn't up and one more Lewis was one more than he could take, because that was the one year he went up to Roseburg, I believe it was, and taught for a couple of years and came back as soon as I was out of that. I think he just couldn't take one more Lewis.
Okay.
Too much mischief.
Now, what's this piano recital business?
Piano recital?
We dress up.
Once a year, you had to dress up.
To the hilt.
Absolutely. You had to have your old shoes polished like they were new, or new shoes if you could afford them. New pants and shirt for the guys, new dresses for the gals. I think you've probably got one picture coming up here, do you? Somewhere in that pile? Because I saw it before show, and I'm in the back row. There are 3 boys and probably a dozen girls taking piano lessons.
Oh, the recitals were almost like a debutante ball. I mean, people were crowded in this little basement
room. I don't think it would be a third the size of the studio.
It was as big as a schoolroom because it was dug.
The same size as a schoolroom, right straight below.
And it was dug out after the building was there.
Yep.
I remember that so keenly. Now look at these guys. We went to the airport together, and there the 3 Lewises are.
Oh, yes.
But now the Lewis boys...
Right here on this end, my brother Chuck, I'm in the middle, and Mervin's on the end.
This is Medford Airport, and this is the way it was when?
When the airplane still had a tail drag wheel that steered them on the ground and 2 propellers.
Oh, I remember it well.
Oh, yes, great days.
Now, there's the picture of your aunt, uncle, and cousin.
Yes.
Carolyn.
This is a lot of the people in the Grants Pass area would know him as Byron. That was Floyd B., or FB, as he later was known, and Carolyn, his youngest daughter.
Yeah, Carolyn and her husband.
And there's her husband there.
But let's back up just a little bit.
7th, 8th grade.
Dining in style at a...
Absolutely high class.
What was it?
The 7th, 8th grade banquet in that little room underneath our 7th, 8th grade classroom. We had our best dress or best suit. We even had tablecloths and napkins and real china that I think came from your house, and things that most of us didn't enjoy outside of occasions like that.
The banquet, even the word sounded like...
it was such an occasion.
We were so grown up. Now that's what the school desks looked like. They were fun. Some of them...
This does not happen to be our year, but it does happen to be our classroom.
And probably we can see someplace in there would be Chuck.
My cousins are in there, and my older brother.
And your brother Chuck. That's Mervin.
No, that one's Merv.
Oh, and then here's that little bitty Somehow you didn't grow as tall as the other boys.
I got a real special story to tell about that 8th grade picture taken in the front of the old theater church. We had where the theater is now was our church. And down front, behind the table, they brought an apple box. And I stood on a box to be the same height as the girls in the front row with the boys standing behind me. I was standing on a box to be as tall as the rest of the kids in the 8th grade.
Oh.
I was a tiny little feisty, trouble looking for a place to happen.
Oh, man.
But yeah, it was
All
wonderful.
grown up. There we are at our reunion.
Oh yes, no, not our reunion. That's just a special reunion, not a reunion.
Okay, I thought this was 50 years later.
Yes, you forgot to label it. 50 years, 1st grade class reunion.
Yeah, but
Wanted to have the class reunion while we were still feisty enough to enjoy it.
But there's my big brother Henry and your big brother Mervyn. And this is, ooh.
Which one?
The one with all the beard.
The one with the beard. Let me see.
Oh my goodness, how could I forget?
Oh, Leslie Shaw.
That's right.
That's Leslie.
Now he lives in San Diego now.
And then Wendell and yours truly on the end.
We had so much fun to have a reunion. If you ever get a chance to go back to your school reunion, I encourage it. Well, look, Delbert was there speaking. We had our school desk here. We had all kinds of blackboards and our flag. I think we even pledged allegiance to the flag. Back then, we didn't.
Back then, we even went out during grade school days. We would go out if the weather would permit the hanging of a flag. It never, oh, heaven be, you never had a flag out in the rain. If it started even threatening to sprinkle, you took the flag down.
We all ran.
You ran out, you took the flag down, you didn't let it touch the ground, and you folded it just so. And we would have the Pledge of Allegiance and salute the flag raising in the mornings and taking down after school. I would love to see that reinstated in all schools of the nation.
And it was a privilege that we got.
It was a privilege if you got to hold the flag, and more so if you were the one folding it.
That's where we learned it. Now, you've got stories about every one of these pictures.
Probably.
But let's get you a little older. Where'd you go to school?
Well, for high school, I attended 2. I went 1 year at Laurelwood. That was up at Gaston. That's another little burg out of Portland. And I attended my freshman year there. And then I came down that summer and worked at Milo, and then did the next 3 years there at Milo Academy.
Now this farm used to be a home place.
Oh, this was just a few miles from my dad's ranch when Dad wanted us to move to the country and Mom wanted to stay in town and hold her city job. The ranch that they bought was just, about 15 miles from here. This was Corwin's Bar Lazy 8 or something of that nature. I believe it was the Bar Lazy 8. Dad's ranch brand was the Bar 7R.
See, where else would you learn that, folks? Yeah, thanks for tuning in to Better Life TV. This week, we are going to a reunion of this school. And this is what we look back then, but now here we're going to reminisce. We have been in school together. Tell me, after you finished high school, where then did you go?
I did 4 years at Walla Walla College, College Place, Washington.
Taking what?
I studied for the ministry there, took theology.
And
I had religion and history minor.
and then what'd you do? Taught?
I taught school for 1 year to pay back the Upper Columbia Conference for helping me with my senior year, being able to stay in school because I'd run out of funds and the folks weren't able to help.
No blackberries to pick
No
that year.
blackberries to pick back then, or at least not the willingness to do it. And then from there I went to Andrews University for a year, and then went into the ministry for 2 years.
But you've got a history beyond that. You had careers of fathering 5 beautiful kids.
5 beautiful kids and 1 adopted. And then as time has it, my first wife divorced me, and a couple of years later I married a beautiful lady with a son. So I had 5 natural, I had 1 adopted. So that makes half a dozen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now what happens when you add 1? You have 1 plus a half a dozen, right?
Right.
Well, I mentioned that to Dr. Harold Campbell, as we know him as Buddy, Harold Jr., at their folks' 50th wedding anniversary. Well, everybody was talking about their kids, and I was the last one. And being that little kid in grade school, and the most bashful one of all, wanted to know if I ever got married. You know, that was a big thing in itself. But then I said, oh, no, I married. Well, do you have any kids? Yeah. Oh, just 1.5 dozen. And I went on talking. I thought Dr. Campbell, Buddy, was going to fall in his father's swimming pool. He stepped back and just went into total shock. This bashful little kid. 1.5 dozen, then I had to go ahead and explain. I had 5. I adopted 1. That makes the half dozen. I got remarried. That added 1. So that's the 1 and the half dozen. They had quite a laugh over that.
Oh, I do too. That's.
Who else could have 1.5 dozen kids but a Lewis?
Well, the nation's got pretty close with their dozen. I brought this along just because when I was a freshman in high school, we had a requirement that girls would embroider 1 pillowcase and crochet 1 pillowcase. Well, I did the embroidery on this pillowcase, and I did the crocheting on the other. Enough already. So this is your mother's work. She finished off. And I thought, no.
Bless Mom for coming to your rescue.
Yeah. So this is my embroidery, but that's your mom's lace. And the other one is just the opposite. And I didn't have any trouble telling which one. Your mother, when she wasn't canning, when she wasn't working 14 hours a day or 12, or walking to work.
And from. Walk to go grocery shopping.
Of course.
Everything was during the war. You never rode anywhere.
Now, did she have a license?
She never had a license to drive until she was in her 60s.
Let's talk about your mother in her 60s. And your mother had a sister. 2 sisters?
Well, 2. Vesta was the one in California who married a mortician who had a real sense of humor. If this program was long enough, I could really give you some hair-raising ones from there. But we'll not go there. We will go to the other sister, married Paul Hubeck. And for those who have been long-term Seventh-day Adventists will recognize Elder Paul Hubeck as an evangelist in the early days and later as a professor at Walla Walla College.
You've got a story about his kids, because they were basically city kids, right?
Very city kids. I mean, this was the days when Elder and Mrs. Huback were in evangelism in, I can't remember which one of the California conferences, but definitely big city evangelism. And they came up to us country cousins. Well, there's two things. They wouldn't drink milk that was from a cow that had to come from a jar. So Mom went down with her meager earnings, bought one bottle of milk at Lowe's at the grocery store, served it to them, and then filled it out of the bucket from then on.
Because you had cows.
Because cows don't give milk, grocery stores do. And the other thing about them were they were so countrified, they had never been fishing.
And?
They were girls. And we were boys, so we had to take them fishing. And so we took them down to the Rogue River and introduced them to the wonderful world of Peter, Paul, and John, and Barnabas, and all those nice apostles. They went fishing. So we had to take them fishing.
Yeah, with worms?
With worms.
And where'd you get the worms?
We made them dig their worms.
Oh.
And we came to their rescue because we knew they didn't have enough. And to start with, we had to show them how to put a worm on a hook. And after that, they had to hook the next one.
Now, what
that's mean ornery country cousins. And they actually caught fish.
Did you have poles for them, or the stick in them?
But back in those days, you didn't, unless you were more aristocratic, you had a pole that had something that went clickety-clack and would bring the string in. And later I found out it was a reel. But in our days, no. You had the string from the top of a feed sack or from a flour sack, and you tied those strings together, and you had if you were lucky, you had a fishing hook that one of the in-laws or outlaws gave you, or you would refashion it from a bent, worn-out safety pin.
And you caught real fish?
We caught real fish.
Oh, my goodness. This family, what they made do with the homemade underwear even?
Homemade anything.
But the shoes you had to...
The shoes, I wore hand-me-downs because I had all these cousins that kept sharing, would gradually filter down to me. Through my two older brothers.
The little one, yeah.
And they would eventually get to me. That was the underwear, the socks, the pants, the shoes, the shirts, the jackets, the caps, was filtered down through the
and what didn't come
through the clan.
What didn't come that way, Mom sewed.
Mom sewed, re-sewed most of what was handed down because I was so much smaller than the rest. She had to re-sew even the hand-me-downs.
Well, your mom, let's talk a little bit about when she retired. She'd been a nurse for 40 years or 35.
Well, not quite. You're stretching her. I wish I could say it was that, but she finished at 33 years at Josephine General.
33. Then what did she do but go to the Indian reservation?
Well, she went from then she went to work at Wendell's Rest Home, Parkview, and that's where you bring it on up to the 45 years of nursing. So you were right, but I was clarifying it as Josephine General Nursing versus the other.
But tell me what she did next, which is what
she.
By this time,
she's in her 70s, and she decides it's time to do something. So she calls me and has me come down to Grants Pass and pack her up, lock, stock, and barrel, in a big U-Haul, and we headed to Arizona, to the Holbrook Indian Mission, where she spent the rest of her working life, up until she was 83, working at the Holbrook School.
Oh, and there's wonderful stories
And
about
there's stories
your mom.
there at Holbrook, too.
Yeah, your mother was just the mom that everybody could dream of. Yeah.
She was so special to those little girls in the 3rd grade at the mission that when she passed away, they couldn't believe she was gone. In the casket.
They had to find out. She was a precious, precious woman, and Aunt Vella was too. And you guys had some really, really strong, and they were the reason to move, to put down roots.
Oh yeah,
Were the women folk.
the women put the roots
And we're
down.
talking 19 and 30 something.
Arriving in about 31, putting down roots in about 30. I came in 38, so it was about 30, maybe 39, middle of 39.
So I just love the story about these women because they were pioneer women, both nurses, both helping with the community, and holding our communities together during World War II, which I think, hats off to them.
They did something that I doubt some of our young ladies today could have done what they've done.
Or men, because
Or
the
men.
men were gone and they did it.
Men weren't
They-
there. Who else could?
Well, thanks for coming all that way from up Washington, almost to Washington.
Almost to Washington.
Yeah. And your friend Dwayne is now in Washington. He was a state.
Yeah, he's up at Napavine. He's finally retired.
Chief of police.
Chief of police up there, the big town of Napavine.
I'm Bernie Martin Beck saying thank you so much for coming to Better Life TV.
Been an awesome privilege.